Throughout history, in every century, a new global power rises. Rome, the Ottoman Empire, and today, the United States of America. These superpowers didn't just lead, they ruled. And their strength came from one thing: weaponization. But in the modern era, America's most powerful weapon isn't forged in metal. It's made of paper. It's called the dollar. And this is the story of how that paper came to rule the world, and who's now trying to challenge its throne. Before we dive into the battle for global financial power, hit that subscribe button. This story could change the way you see money, power, and the future of the world economy. The rise of the dollar. The US dollar didn't always dominate the world stage. Its rise was a combination of strategic timing, economic power, and global crisis. During World War II, the world was in chaos. To bring stability, world leaders met in 1944 at Bretton Woods, New Hampshire. They made a game-changing deal, the Bretton Woods Agreement. Here's what it did. All major world currencies were tied to the US dollar. The US dollar was tied to gold, priced at $35 per ounce. Two new global financial bodies were created: the International Monetary Fund, IMF, and the World Bank. The US had about 75% of the world's gold after the war. That made other countries trust the dollar. It was as good as gold. But by the 1960s, things started changing. The US spent a lot of money on the Vietnam War and domestic programs. That led to too many dollars being printed and doubts rising worldwide. In 1971, President Richard Nixon shocked the world. He ended the dollar's link to gold, crashing the Bretton Woods system. But instead of falling, the US made a smart move. It signed a deal with Saudi Arabia. All oil would be sold only in dollars. This created the petrodollar system. If a country wanted oil, it needed dollars. This boosted demand for the US dollar like never before. This gave America massive power. It can borrow money easily, print more dollars, and use the currency to influence other countries. And that's the point where the rule of dollar begins. The rule of dollar. For decades after the petrodollar deal, the US enjoyed what many called the dollar privilege. It used this power to buy goods cheaply from abroad, borrow money at low interest, influence global trade and banking systems. But there was a darker side. Critics say the US misused this power by overusing sanctions to pressure countries, creating unstable debt situations for weaker economies, printing excess dollars, causing inflation worldwide. With the dollar as the world's reserve currency, the US didn't face the same rules it asked others to follow. This imbalance triggered global frustration and fueled calls for a fair system. The dollar isn't just cash for the United States of America. It's a control tool. It used its dollar to punish countries like Russia and Iran with sanctions, influence decisions in other nations, create debt traps for poorer countries. But the world started to question this. Should one country have this much control over global money? That's the point when BRICS born. The rise of BRICS, challenging the dollar empire. The story of BRICS didn't start as a fight against the dollar. It began with a shared dream, a more balanced world. In 2001, the term BRIC was first used by economist Jim O'Neill. He predicted that Brazil, Russia, India, and China would become the next big global players. In 2006, they began formal talks. By 2009, the first official BRICS summit was held. In 2010, South Africa joined, and BRICS was born. So what brought them together? Frustration. These countries felt ignored by Western institutions like the IMF, World Bank, and UN Security Council. They wanted a voice, a say in how the world works. Inequality. Even though they had growing economies and huge populations, they were treated as second class in a system led by the G7 nations: US, UK, Germany, Japan, France, Canada, and Italy. And a new vision: mutual respect, sovereignty, equal development, and multilateralism. They're not just against the dollar, they're against unipolar dominance. In 2015, they launched the New Development Bank, NDB, their own version of the World Bank. It gives loans without political strings attached, helping countries escape IMF pressure. Now, with economic shifts, BRICS is growing stronger and more united, especially after seeing how the US uses the dollar as a weapon. Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. These countries are home to 40% of the world's people and a big chunk of the global economy. They're not just trading partners. They're forming a team to change the global money game. In 2023 to 2024, BRICS grew bigger. Countries like Saudi Arabia, Egypt, the UAE, Iran, and Argentina showed interest or joined. That's huge, especially energy giants moving away from the dollar. And in 2023, a historic shift happened. The petrodollar deal ended. Saudi Arabia did not renew its exclusive oil deal with the US, ending the decades-long arrangement where oil was sold only in dollars. This marked a major crack in the foundation of the dollar's global rule. But this growth isn't going unnoticed. The US has responded with a mix of economic strategies and political influence. More sanctions against BRICS members like Russia and Iran, encouraging allies not to join or trade through BRICS currency systems, pushing NATO influence in regions where BRICS is expanding, tightening control over global institutions like SWIFT and the IMF. Trade tensions have also heated up. The US-China tariff war, sanctions on Russian oil, and restrictions on Indian exports show a growing pattern of using trade as a geopolitical tool. BRICS, on the other hand, is pushing back with plans for a common currency or cross-border settlement systems, increasing use of local currencies in trade, like India-Russia rupee-ruble trades, strengthening South-South cooperation and strategic partnerships. The group's message is clear. The world should not be ruled by one currency or one country. The result? A divided world order. BRICS pushing multipolarity, while the US fights to maintain unipolar dominance. But still, recent announcements from Donald Trump's trade war and their ripple effects in the global stock market once again prove just how deeply the dollar is rooted in the world economy. This shows how tough it will be to challenge the dollar. Curious to see how Trump's tariffs have impacted the global economy? Click the card above to watch my YouTube shorts on the Trump trade war and get a closer look. What do you think about the future of the dollar? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, smash that like button if you enjoyed this breakdown, and don't forget to subscribe for more in-depth content like this.